So let's get into today's discussion because we have a lot to cover. What's coming up for y'all about that? Anything? You don't have to share immediately what's coming up, but if you need some starters, here's our discussion questions for today. Of course, we always start with what's coming up for you. And you might be like, why do you ask that question every time, City? And what does that question even mean? That question literally means what is coming up inside of your body? What energy are you feeling? Where do you feel it? What thoughts are you having? What emotions are you experiencing after having listened to that reading? That's all it means. Because that's good information. The emotions that we feel in our body, that's good information. It helps us to know like how to move. Where to go. It's like a compass almost. So what's coming up for you? Next, excuse the typo. If you could be doing anything else right now, what would it be? That's a really important question. And remember, y'all can take a screenshot. You probably would rather take a screenshot when it's spelled right though. I feel you. I'll spell it right later. Oop. I'll fix it so you can get your screenshot. But if you could be doing anything else right now, what would it be? That's a really important one that I really want y'all to not skip. Y'all know I'm not ever asking or requiring y'all to answer these questions live or even on the Padlet, but I do strongly encourage you to jot them down, screenshot them, and meditate on them, pray on them, journal, or do whatever it is that your creative outlet expression is. Take it to your therapist, ask her to help you out if you need that level of support. But that's what these questions are for us to contemplate personally and also share as a community and support each other in our growth. I asked if you could be doing anything else right now, what would it be? This question is specific because it helps us to get into if I would rather be doing this, then why am I actually doing that? Hold on. Okay? Hear me out with that. Thank you. Thank you. Exactly. Thank you. I need someone to give me a real answer. To get the money. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Spaz. That was like perfect timing. You're going to ask that question and you're going to get a real answer. Okay? That real answer is where you do that work. If you could be doing anything else right now, what is it that you will be doing? And then take that a step further to ask what is stopping you. If it's like, well, a lot of things. What's going to come up are a lot of societal structures that are stopping you. It's not going to be nothing natural. It's not going. It's going to be like my job. I gotta go to work. I gotta pay this mortgage, right? I gotta, get shoes for the kids. It's going to be a bunch of structures, earthly structures that in death you can't take with you anyway. That's keeping you from doing what you would rather be doing right now. You can say, City, you don't know. Yes, I do know. All right, I just gave you the answer to that question. I don't know what's stopping you specifically, but I do know that a lot of the things that are going to come up will be related to an external earthly structure. Contemplate some things you can shift that will allow you to live more authentically and with more awareness in each moment. Sometimes, family, that comes with separating our shit from other people's shit. Okay? So there's our discussion. I wanted to get those to you so you can have something else to think about while we get into our key points. I guess maybe next slideshow I'll put the discussion questions first and then get into the key points. But I don't know why I didn't do it that structure this first time. But y'all probably don't care. Anyway, let's get into our key points. Contemplating death can help us deepen our relationships and make them more meaningful. All right, he talks about how when we think about how tomorrow or even the next moment is not promised. My mom used to say that all the time. My mom said that all the time. Tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. Put a one in the chat if you ever had an OG tell you that to you back in the day, or even in the present modern day. So when we think about how tomorrow's not promised, it allows us to treat our cherished relationships a lot differently. Petty arguments and annoyances get thrown out the window. Another thing my mom said, along with tomorrow's not promised, another thing she used to always say was, don't ever go to bed angry. Spaz heard that. Tomorrow's not promised. I'm telling you, Spaz. Oh my goodness. If I had, I ain't even gonna say $1, 25 cents. Every time I heard that, man, we would be somewhere else having this stream. Okay, it's all good though. My mother used to always say, "Don't ever go to bed angry," and so those were two things that my mom was trying to instill inside of me, and to allow death to be my teacher without it scaring me. But thank you for the hearts for Spaz. I appreciate that, Juice. Um, those are really cool hearts too. I love. They're so creative. I'm gonna go look at some of them more in depth in a moment. That was a way of her, allowing death to be my teacher. Well, why not go to bed angry? Because if someone goes to bed and you angry with them, and then one of y'all don't wake up the next day, you will experience what we call regret, because you went to bed mad at them and didn't get a chance to tell them how much you love them. Okay, so I'm grateful, and now that I think about that, shout out to mom. I wonder if that was important for her to do, because she knew that I had experience with death so early, so it was important for her to make sure that I knew how to navigate it, which I can respect. Um, Singer also tells us that death can help us reorder our priorities. So he's basically saying, like, if it wouldn't matter to you, if it would not matter to you, if you knew you wouldn't be here in a week, does it really matter in the grand design of your life? And then take it, I'm gonna take it even a step further. Does that even matter when it comes to uh, the entire evolution of our soul's growth? Like, if I knew that if I knew that I had a week, right? The things that seem very important right now, or even last week, maybe don't factor in as much in the overall picture of my soul's evolution. He says, if that this quote, I had to take the whole quote. If that's really what you would do with your last week, what are you doing with the rest of your time? Wasting it, throwing it away, treating it like it's not something precious? What are you doing with life? That is what death asks you, and that's on page 158. If we consider life and death not as opposites, how we've been taught to think, like from kindergarten, like, what's the opposite of cold? Hot. What's the opposite of up? Down, right? Opposites. And if we don't think about them as opposites, but if we look at them as just like polar states of the same energy, right? So on one end of the spectrum, there's life, and on the other end of the spectrum, there's the absence of life, right? Um, that can that is one perspective that can help us expand our consciousness to accept the lessons of death by living a fuller life, a life that is a more expressive and authentic embodiment of our fullest expression. Um, if the angel of death came today and you asked for more time, the counter question would be, what did you do with the time you had? Honey, that I didn't think it mattered. That part is key. It all matters. We hear phrases all the time. Like when I read that part, I was like, thank you, because now I get to have like another author like back me up here. We hear people say all these things all the time, like, it ain't that deep, it ain't that serious. I'm just trying to have fun, YOLO. As long as I have a good time, that's all that matters. And it's like, okay, so put your money where your mouth is and have a good time. If you really only live once, then actually live your life to the fullest. And that's kind of maybe easier said than done. Like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But make a decision and then start to take those steps so that you can do that. Um, because and I'm not going to say that those things are false. Yes, those things are true. Like, it ain't that deep and it ain't that serious, and I'm just trying to have fun. Like, there is a time and place for that. I'm not saying that that is false, but there's also a time when that isn't true. A lot of things matter on a deeper level, and many of us are not conscious of that due to what? Conditioning. What are you talking about, city? What do you mean? I'm talking about this. That things are deeper. They mean something on a deeper level, but we are not always consciously aware of it. I wasn't consciously aware of a lot of things when I was living in a state of fear, anxiety, and withdrawal. When I felt like, when my view of God was that bad things were happening to me because I was being punished for them. Bad, naughty human. Okay, that's what that God view. If you're following me, I'm looking at the top of the chart where the black labels are. It's the one, two, three, four, fifth column going down. It says God view. My view of God or a higher power when I was living in that state of fear was that it was punitive. Whatever, God is punishing me. God's punishing me because I like to drink alcohol. God's punishing me because I had sex before marriage. God's punishing me because my partner's a woman. God's punishing me because I like to blow it down. I'm talking about weed. Get what I'm saying? God's punishing me because I like to twerk my ass and I go to the club. Whatever. God's punishing me because I curse and whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was my mindset though. If you know me now, if you met me after I lived in that state, then I don't think like that anymore. So I'm just cluing y'all into like the parts of the journey. So that's why this is important, because a lot of things do matter on a deeper level, but until we grow in our own consciousness, we will not be aware of that level of consciousness. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I agree. Yes, everyone has a mission to complete in life, and with many of us, we are aligning in life because we are co-creators in supporting in each other's missions. You don't think that your presence here is supporting me on my mission? It absolutely is, right? This is my mission. So, do you know what your mission is? I'm not asking anyone like specifically in the chat. I'm just like, I'm throwing a question out there. Do you know what your mission is? That's also part of it. Like, when I got very clear about what my mission was, I knew that my mission was not inside that classroom. I had to get out. So knowing your mission is also important. Yes, it's okay. Yes, Spaz. Spaz, I love just having these kind of conversations with you because, and y'all, this also comes from Spaz just being like okay with who he is. You know what I'm saying? He's just like, yeah, I don't know yet. I'm still trying to find it. That's beautiful. Like, to like people think that, like, in order to be like a master manifester, you have to always be in this place of like, I know and I am and I command and I demand. And it's like, no. A master manifester approaches life with a I don't know. Because when you don't know, that means you're open to the divine wisdom being instilled upon you and being, arising back from within you. So I love that. And it might be music. It might be more than one thing too. That's something else. It could be more than one thing. I don't think, maybe some people only come with one purpose, but I also feel like we have more than one. And they may emerge at different times. Like, I want to say this too much later. I, when I was a, when I was a young child up until, um, right after my college years, like after graduating college, my main purpose was dance and choreography and the dance team and everything that came from that. I do that any of that anymore? No. Do I still dance? Yes. Is it at that same level and capacity? No. But was that a purpose in my life at some point? Yes. Teaching is always a purpose, you know. So if I could be doing anything else in the world right now, I don't know. I can't. I think I'd be doing this. Um, oh, I skipped some. Okay, death is one of life's best teachers. He calls that a cosmic paradox. I like that. I like that. Thank you. I love the realness. Yes, he calls it a cosmic paradox. Um, our perspective changes if given the news that this could be the last day that we would have here. You know, you might wake up and say, "Oh, I'm about to go to work and do all the things that I would normally do." And then if you got that message from death that it was a wrap and you was about to go, if that was your last day, what would you be like? You'd be like, "I'm not coming. I'm calling out. I'm not coming back ever." You know what I'm saying? Like you'll be doing the most. It reminded me of that song by Mace, so, 24 Hours to Live. Y'all remember that song? If you had 24 hours to live, what would you do? Who would you see? What would you eat? Who would you screw? Something like that. Or was that by the Locks? Was that by Mace or the Locks? Was it by Mace featuring the Locks? Anyway, I don't know if that was Mace song. It was Mace song featuring the Locks. Yes. So if you never heard that song before, check that out. Um, from Mace back in the '90s, and it also made me think of the idea of a bucket list. Does anyone here have a bucket list? And if you're not sure what a bucket list is, it's basically like a list of things that you would do before you kick the bucket. Kick the bucket is like a slang term for dying. So a bucket list would be a list of all the things that you would like to do before you die. There was a movie called The Bucket List. I never saw it. Maybe I'll watch it. Haven't seen it yet, but that's what I mean about that perspective shift. If you knew you had 24 hours to live, you would, exactly call your loved ones up in the house one more night together. So my question is, and this question is for me too, what is stopping you from doing that today? What is stopping you today, Spaz, from calling up your people and saying, "Hey y'all, everyone come over tonight." What you mean come over tonight? I know it's Monday night. I know the kids got school, but I love y'all and I just want to hang out. Let's just have dinner at my spot tonight, and then we just vibe out. We ain't gotta be late. We could just chill. We'll make sure everybody's out, and maybe a little bit late because it's a school night. But we'll make sure everybody's out and on their way home by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And so Spaz, I use you as an example. I know you probably gotta work because I know you work at night. So maybe that could be a reason why you wouldn't do it. But then it's like, if the reality was that you got that call from death and death said, "No, you're coming with me tomorrow," you would have probably also called and been like, "I'm not going to work because I got to go be with my loved ones." So I know that this is very deep shit because it's like, but that's not the reality. But isn't it the reality? Isn't it? So these are the questions like why? Because when I started to ask that question, I was like, shit, I gotta call Auntie. Like, I have to call Auntie today because it's been a couple days since we talked, and like, I need to do that. Um, I need to do that. Will you wait until the last moment to let death be your teacher? Why would we try to fit all those things into one day? That's the question that I've heard. Why would we try to fit all these things into one day when we could use all the time that we have now? So, I mean, that's a big one. That's why this chapter is so big. This is a big chapter. Um, why would we try to fit all those things into 24 hours when we could be doing a little bit of those things every day? And then contemplating death reminds us to live a full life, with the whole tomorrow's not promised energy. Anything else? Um, we looked at this slide already. Um, if anyone has anything that they want to add to that, you can. I'll go back to that slide. More points that I lifted from this. When you are truly awakened, you wouldn't feel pressure to change a thing about how you're living if you knew that the end was near. So, on the other side of spiritual awakening comes a level of awareness that allows you to live your life freely without the pressure of any expectations, without holding on to any belief of limitation or anything about what you should do or what you're supposed to do because you are fill in the blank with any label. Any label. I'm telling you, it goes with anything. Because I am a because I am a wife, because I'm a mother, because I am a teacher. Like because I am supposed to, because I am a it goes with anything. So, but when you shift your perspective to live more spiritually, spiritual, not religiously, not like our Father. Like I'm not talking about like religious, like going to church every Sunday. When I say spiritual, I'm not talking about foot stomping, hand clapping, going to church and singing. I'm not talking about that when I say spiritual. And I'm talking about like I'm talking about uh, inner alignment with my inner energy and my intuition and my connection to source consciousness. And so when you shift your frequency, your awareness rather, to living from a more spiritual place of consciousness, um, you evolve from focusing so much on everything you're doing as a teacher, as a wife, as a mother, as a this, as a that, and you rest more in the natural simplicity of just being. You know, I would have been one of those ones who would have been calling in to the school and saying, I'm not coming here again or ever because I have to go live my life. I only have one more day to do it. Well, I just wasn't willing to wait until death came to knock and said I had one more day. I realized that going to that job every day was out of my natural alignment of my being, so I made a decision to leave. I am not saying this in this moment to tell everyone to go leave your job right now. I'm telling you my experience, and I am sharing this wisdom, and I'm asking you questions to get yourself thinking about how you're going to make this live and be real in your life. Work on releasing fear or of talking about death. A lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of people are, closed off, and it's like, oh, oh, we don't talk about that around so and so because, oh yeah, he lost his dad and it makes him sad, right? My father transitioned when I was 4. My maternal grandmother transitioned the same year that I was born. My paternal grandparent, my paternal grandmother and my maternal gramps were both gone before I arrived. So death was something that I was very familiar with at an early age because all my other peers and stuff had like a dad and 2 grandmoms and 2 pop-pops. Even my cousins and like my niece and everything, they had these other family structures that they were used to, and I ain't had it. You know what I'm saying? And it was and at that time it was unique to be someone that young and have so many major players in your raising not be alive anymore. Um, so something that was coming up for me as I prepared this chapter is a memory from childhood where I had a knowing somewhere deep within me that my mother was not always going to be physically present with me here on earth. Like I just knew. And I thought about it a lot at night. It wasn't something I always thought about. When I did think about it, it wasn't something that I thought about all the time, or that I liked to think about. Like it wasn't like, oh, let's think about this now, a fun daydream. Like it wasn't like that, but it was a reality that I was aware of, and I knew to have peace about it. Like I knew, and I think that I knew that, or I had an awareness of that because it had already happened. by the time I was 4. Um, by the time she transitioned, I was 21. I think I said that to y'all earlier. So um, I'm not afraid to talk about death, and I'm saying this out loud to you so that you can know if anyone ever has a situation where they're experiencing something related to death and they would love some support to work through it, or just have someone to talk or sit and not talk and just listen to them, or not listen and just sit, or they just need something. I'm not afraid to talk about this kind of stuff. Um, and I may be able to support you where you are with it, to help you find your own peace with it. So I'm offering that. Um, what else did he talk about? More key points. Cause we didn't even get to the juicy stuff, y'all. Y'all probably think, oh my goodness, this is more juice. Okay. Um, the idea is not to change everything we're doing. It is to change the way we're doing it. Basically, do the things that we're doing with more awareness. So he gives us this example of when we walked outside so many times, and it's just like you walk out there and you're not even like being aware, like the sky is there, all these trees, all these leaves. Look at that bird, right? So how often do we do so with full appreciation and awareness of how amazing nature is out there? Like seriously, like when is the last time you went outside and was like just marveling at nature? Be honest. I wanted to give an example of how I am growing in this area of, it's not life that has to change, it's me that has to change. Um, so I live in an apartment, living in an apartment or any kind of, area, a dense area where there's a lot of people like living in row homes. That's where I came from. Or like in this situation, like I live in an apartment building. So basically it's a similar situation as a row home where it's just families living very close to each other. Well, when that is your reality, chances are you're going to hear the noise of others, whether that noise is invited or not. Like my canine friends, right? Um, and this may not be you if you haven't ever, if you didn't live in this kind of environment, you may have lived where it was very open and spacious, and there weren't, people living in such close quarters, so to speak. So this may not be your experience, but this is, I'm gonna share a little bit of my experience. So, um, chances are, right? So, you may have experienced like wondering when someone is gonna turn their music down, like it's getting kind of late, or like when they would maybe stop talking so loud because it's getting kind of late, or maybe you're wondering why the baby is crying like nonstop, right? And these are things that like really happen. Like I remember growing up in a row home and wondering like, when is the music gonna be turned down? I'm trying to go to sleep, you know. Um, I remember going. I used to get migraine headaches, chronic migraine headaches, as a teenager and a young adult. I remember one time, shortly about a year after graduating college, my neighbors on the block were outside and they were just like going in, and they were like loud, clapping, laughing, yelling, stomping. And it just felt like everything I heard felt like my head was like being crushed in, right? And I remember, going downstairs to ask if they would keep it down a little bit. So that's what I mean when I say, when I'm talking about those kind of like noise complaints. Um, they may be. If they're following me on Switch, they may be. But I'm talking about the row home. I'm not talking about um, in the building. But if you are in the building and you're following the channel, listen to what I'm saying. Keep this in mind. Um, so now, instead of asking those kinds of questions, either out loud to a friend or out loud to them, or even just like to myself or in my head, like, oh my God, like, why won't they just be quiet, right? Instead of my mind going that way, I just pause and reflect on the fact that I heard it. I can hear with ease. That's a gift, period. And then I tune in further. What else can I hear in this moment? And get creative. If I get really still and really quiet, I can hear the hum of the refrigerator, right? That's a gift. I can hear with ease. I don't need any extra hearing aid to hear. I don't need you to get real close up on me and be like, huh? What? What'd you say? I don't need to do any of that. So what's the sense in me getting all caught up and up in arms and irritated because the sounds I'm hearing don't sound pleasant at the time? So what? You can hear, can't you? That's where I am in my journey. Um, it's not it's not that I'm saying now, but let me be clear. I'm not saying like, oh, be grateful um that I'm grateful that I can hear for the sense of hearing. I'm not, saying like, oh, the baby's crying, how sweet. Oh, they're arguing, that's great. I'm not saying that. I'm grateful that for the fact that I can hear. If that makes sense. And that's what I mean when I say like living with more awareness. Here's where it gets juicy, y'all. Here is where the juice is going to start to come out. So, attempting to control every experience is what keeps us from being in the experience. As above, so below, as within, so without. So, as we experience things on an external level, like outside of my body, like what I can see, these experiences I'm having, like right now, y'all are having an experience. You're experiencing watching me on the screen. Guess what? We are also experiencing it internally with our emotions and our thoughts. Experience. I got that from Kimba. I love when she said that to me one day, and I said, ooh, experience. I love that because it's like it really expanded my consciousness and the realization that yes, there are things happening on the outside, and those things happening on the outside are are attached to things that are happening on the inside, right? So sometimes the experience, aka what I'm feeling on the inside of me, the energy that comes up, the tightness in my chest, the butterflies or whatever, sometimes the experience is unsettling. And we try to control that by closing up or getting defensive or making someone else, you gonna pay for that, right? But we could choose to remain in the experience. Trickster. Hey Trickster, how you doing today? Welcome, baby. It's so good to see you. How's your day going? What's vibes? Talk to us. Let us know what's going on. Today we read the chapter in the Untethered Soul that's called Contemplating Death. The disclaimer for today is that if contemplating death is something that you're not ready to do, and you would rather have like some more support before you get into something like this, and you're just like, nah, I ain't come here to talk about death. You should know that that's what we're talking about, and feel free to tap back in when we're maybe not talking about this. I don't want anyone to be feeling uncomfortable. So that's the disclaimer for anyone who's just coming back in or who's coming. So where were we at? Um, yeah, sometimes what we're experiencing inside with that unsettling energy makes us feel like we want to close and control the experience. um, make them pay, defend ourselves. But we could choose to remain in every inner experience that is brought on by every external experience by being with our being. That's it. Like, don't stop the discomfort from coming up. Your eyes are beginning to sting because you know what that means. You're about to start crying because whatever is happening makes you was that disturbing. Just do it. Excuse me. More room out than in. And that goes for farts and also for energy and tears. Release the idea of crybaby. Release the idea that crying is for babies. Release the idea that crying is for children. Release the idea that crying is for women. Release the idea that crying is only for sadness or for explosive expressions of emotion. Crying is one way that we are able to regulate our energy. And it's another way that we are able to communicate when words are absent. There are two healing agents in our tears, water and salt. So it's okay to embrace those tears when they're coming up. That's just an example of how that's something that we may try to hold back. That's a phrase. It's a phrase in our lexicon. Choke back tears or hold back, or I held back my tears, but it's like you don't have to do that because there's way more room out than in. And if you leave it in, if you've been here since chapter 1, you know what's happening if you leave it in and don't allow it to process through you. Okay. Exploring what our being is telling us about how we are interpreting a situation is important, because it gives us information to know what we may need in that moment, and it gives us information to know what we may need beyond. What do you mean? I mean, what I might need in that moment. If I'm having an experience with you externally, we're having a conversation that might start to get heated, or maybe it don't get heated. Maybe it's a conversation that just starts to go down a certain path that starts to cause uncomfortable feelings to come up inside of me. That's not a bad thing. It actually is information that allows me to know what I need in that moment. Oof. When this subject comes up, it makes me feel like this. I need to check in with that. What am I holding on to? What does this make me think about? Etc., etc., etc. It's just information we can use to get to know ourselves better. And when I know myself better and I can embody that fully, I can even better communicate to you who I am. Not just in what I say, but in the full body essence of my being. Is it landing? Making sense? Let me know. As children, we were really good at that, especially before we had the ability to understand and respond with language. All we did was feel energy. We could feel it a lot more better because that's really the only way we had to navigate and communicate with the world. So you ever peep this, yo? Like, actually peep this. You peep how they're the children when they're born, like some children like will go to another adult, or anyone older. It could be like an older sibling or cousin or something, teenager. But you ever notice how like newborn children or like younger children will more readily go to some people versus they're not too keen on being in passed to that person and having to sit in their arms, and they kind of start to fussing and stuff like that when they get to that person. That's because they don't like that person's energy. It may not mean that that person has bad energy or a negative energy. It just means that in that moment the child's energy did not like that person's energy. So that the fussing that we see and the resistance to getting into that person's arm, we are so disrespectful to babies, yo. They be sitting here like literally fighting like with their body, like, I don't want to go with her, and we will be like, take them, I need a break, take them. You get what I'm saying? This is a different conversation. This is not supposed to get into like childhood and parenting today, but when we get into those topics, like, I'm an advocate for children, yo. I love adults. I'm an adult myself. So I'm an advocate for adults as well, but children first. And we live in a society that is absolutely okay with reducing the needs of children, minimizing them, low key, almost high key, ignoring them, and forcing the needs of children to conform around the needs of adults. And we do so and we clear our conscience by saying, but I'm doing it for you. Don't you see that? Everything I do it for you. But when you are not allowing the child's full expression, and when you're not allowing all their needs to be met, then is it really for them? Okay. Thank you for that tangent that you allowed me to go on. So, yeah, as children, we're really good at being able to know by the energy where it was good for us and where it wasn't good for us. And if you're wise enough to pay attention to your children, you can look at them to help you to see who has good energy for you and your family and who doesn't. Your children is telling you. Tricky. Tricky. Okay? Listen. We have so I'm doing it for you. No, no, you're doing it for you. That's a different conversation for a different time. And they were doing it for us, but it was a little bit misplaced, and there was a lot of confusion with what was how they were making things happen. Shout out to the parents, much love and respect, because they did their best, and all is forgiven. Um, but eventually, here's what happens with this childhood thing. A switch gets flipped where we start becoming conditioned to give up the information that we're learning from our own experience and defer to the adults who are in charge. They, they tell you, babies tell when they tell us in the beginning when they're hungry, but when that switch gets flipped, now it's the adult telling you when you're hungry, aka it's time to eat, and how much to eat, aka I worked hard for this. I used the money that I earned to pay for this. I, I took my behind to the store to buy it. I paid my money for it. I spent my time to cook it. I put it on your plate. And now you're going to eat all of it, right? And it's like, even if we don't give a fuck, don't excuse the language, I'm keeping it real. Because we are so disrespectful to the children, it's not even funny, yo. I'm a child advocate. I love adults, but I'm an advocate for children because children do not have the opportunity to speak up for themselves. And I'm here to remind us all as adults some things that we forgot about our childhood experience, things that as adults we sometimes repeat even though we didn't like when it was done to us. So, even if my stomach is just like way not ready for this, or like my stomach don't even like respond to this, I throw it up all the time, or even if like my stomach is like at capacity, no, you're going to sit there, you're going to finish it. Okay. They tell you when you're allowed to go pee. They tell you to suck it up. The very first time, and this may not be any of your experiences, but I grew up in Philly, PA, where don't be a 2 year old, don't be a toddler age boy and fall and skin your knee on the ground and then wake and then look and see your blood coming out of your leg and start crying. Oh, don't do that. Don't you dare do that. Man up. Stop that crying. You alright. You alright. I'm telling you. It's sickening. You know what I'm saying? Hear this baby crying for the first time, seeing this red stuff coming out their skin. And guess what? On top of that, it hurts. You alright? No, he's not alright. No, he ain't. What you're projecting onto that little boy is what fear you have about and your perception of his weakness right now. He's two. He hurt himself. Go comfort him. The fuck? You get what I'm saying? I get aggressive when I think about that because it's like, y'all wildin'. But this is normal society. Some people may be listening to me right now and saying, I don't see the big deal about what she's talking about. Like, that's right. That's regular. It is regular. That's normal. It is normal. Regular and normal do not equal healthy, okay, and correct. It just means that that's what we accept. Here's one that I have had to work on with myself and forgive myself for. You know, they tell you to go shake hands with the playmate who just disrupted your energy inside. So, like, I don't really want to go fuck with that person. I don't feel like making amends with this person yet. But the adults who want to instill in you conflict resolution or model good citizenship or being a good neighbor force you to go kiss and make up before you might be ready. It ain't right. We were talking about how, as I'm an advocate for children, and I'm speaking on behalf of the children right now. When you, the thing that I had to work on and forgive myself for, and release what I used to do, was that teacher move, where I don't want to disrupt the energy of the classroom, or so I thought, right? Or kill the momentum that we have. Really, I'm just thinking about this schedule. I have to move on to the next thing, and I have a tight schedule, and I honestly just don't even have time for your emotions right now. So you are going to go and shake his hand. You don't have to like it, you just have to do it, right? And it's like the message that I'm sending to this child is that it is not okay for them to trust what they feel inside. And it is better for them to defer to me or any other authority who's in charge, right? Because clearly they're not an expert on themselves. They don't know enough, right? They're not in there with them. Self, weird. It's strange. But that is the normal way that we are doing things. So, in those moments, what children are missing is that emotional vocabulary to learn how to make sense, logical sense of what the emotions are telling. Why is that important? That's important because the cognitive facilities that allow us to think about things in a logical way don't even come online developmentally until after we've been here for some time. So all we have that we have already been expert users of is the way that the energy felt, the way the emotion felt. You may not understand the words that your parent uses when they say that thing before those facilities come online, but you know how that energy felt because you heard their tone of voice, because you saw the sternness of their gaze, and because you felt the energy coming off of them, right? So we know how to interpret it from an energetic perspective, but we don't have the vocabulary or the logical sense making of it at those younger stages of development to make sense of it. Okay, so we grow up with this deep emotional disconnect that we perceive as being normal because it's what we're used to. But what are we always saying here, y'all? Normal does not equal healthy. It does not equal what is best for you. It just means that that's the thing that is widely accepted or even expected. Okay? So, let me see. Let me catch up on the chat. Okay, I got into a fight at school in my teens, and my dad drove me around the block so I could shake dude's hand. I knew where he lived. That day, I forgot where he lived. I wasn't ready to confront that person, but dad was ready for me to confront him. Right, right. And whatever that meant to your father, like, I'm teaching him how to be a man. I'm teaching him how to make amends, or I'm teaching him how to engage in what his perception of healthy conflict resolution is, right? These are things like, the thing about processing our childhood as adults is not just the processing of it, but really doing it with love, understanding that every in the best situation, even when there were mistakes that were happening, I know my mom was doing the best she could. She was doing the best she could with what she knew. Did she know everything? Never. Everyone doesn't know everything. and everyone doesn't know everything when they might, wish they had known it. You know what I'm saying? She used, she was able to use um, things she learned about herself as a woman and as a parent with my other siblings to support with how she raised me. But before she had raised them, did she know those things yet? No. You know what I'm saying? So, um, you know, I'm sure I'm not trying to speak for your dad, but I'm just saying in a situation like this, I'm sure he didn't think he was like hurting you or punishing you. He probably thought he was instilling a good and important lesson in you. But what may have been missing in that moment was the check in with, son, how do you feel right now? Do you feel strong? You know what I'm saying? Like really talking to my son to, to talk about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you feel? But how many, as men, are we having emotional conversations? As boys, do we grow up having emotional conversations? When I was still at the charter school, one experience that I had experience, right, was attached to an experience that solidified for me that I wasn't going to remain in the classroom teaching from that perspective for my entire life. I knew that, like, from this experience, I knew I was not going to be retiring from a classroom position at age 65 and up. Did I say my son? No, star. You would know if I had a son. No, I was speaking as if I was Juice's father. I was role playing. No, not my son. I do not have, for the record, anyone listening, City John does not have any biological children of her own. No. All my children were the kind that I could give back to their parents at the end of a school day. Okay? That's how much I love all y'all. You can take all your precious gems back. I only going to have them for a little while. I love you so much that I want you to have them back permanently. It's like, no. No, no, no. No, no, no. I was role playing. I was role playing. Um, so this experience I had when I worked at the charter school, I taught kindergarten, and play we had a structured we had a class for playtime. It's called Play and K. Super cute, right? But basically, my first year there was no play. Can you imagine this? The very first year that I worked in this school was 2013, and there was literally the only time children were allowed to play was at recess. And that was the only time that children of any age, but especially kindergarten, was allowed to play, which was so strange to me because I'm like, children learn through play, but the focus of the charter school and in a lot of schools at that time, maybe that's kind of shifting now, but the focus then was more so like, um, very academic. Even at a very young age, we need these children to be on an academic track because they're already behind. And it's like, if y'all knew how false that was from a developmental perspective, school admins would never be able to run that game on you ever again. But anyway, and don't worry, those are the kinds of things that we talk about on this channel. So if you're here and you're just listening and lurking and you're like, how did I find this crazy girl? I don't know how, but I love it. Make sure you hit that heart so we can stay connected and you can know when I'm going live so we can talk about all these kinds of things. And if you are listening and lurking and you are like, yes, I need more of this crazy girl, and you don't, but you kind of shy, go ahead and click that link. That's my link tree, and you'll learn more about me there. So the way that my schedule was set up is that the students that I was in charge of that year, had Play and K at the end of the day. So it ended up being a beautiful schedule because I had an additional prep time at the end of the day. And y'all know, or maybe you don't know, if you watch Abbott Elementary, you probably don't know. It's like, no. But uh, prep time is just like another break because we be needing another break, y'all, because the school day be hard. By the end of the day, by the end of, by the end of my teaching on time, um, I would sometimes, finish the rest of my lunch, And that would be my time to prepare their take-home folders. So if I'm teaching kindergarten, I do a lot of communication with parents in this folder that goes home every night. Their homework assignments are in there, any notes, any updates, things like that. Parents also communicate to me by submitting information in the folder every day. So I would use that ending period of the day where my students were in playtime to check their folders and get them ready for going home. Sometimes I would leave my classroom for this, and sometimes I would not. So I stay in the classroom. I'm doing my thing. Miss B and the students, they doing their thing. They pick their PlayStations, and then they go off and they go play, and they go playing, and they playing, and they having a good time, and they playing. Everybody playing. And I'm not really focused. One of our colleagues came into the room. I guess he was just passing by, and he saw me sitting there. And so he said, and I said, and he said, so he came on in. So he came in, and I'm doing folders, and we're him making kind of making small talk. How the day been, that kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's been cool. He's a man. I feel like y'all picked that up because I keep saying he. He's a black man. He's about my age, maybe a year or two older than I am. So I'm saying that to say that he's a man. He's a man who grew up in the same city that I grew up in, around the same time. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe even more than 2 years older than me. But kind of like around the same like era, if you will. So as I'm doing folders, some of the children are having a commotion. There's something going on, and they run, and one of the boys runs to me, and he says, Miss Lou, so and so, I forget the little boy name who said this to me. So and so is trying to play with this, and it wasn't a stuffed animal. It was a baby doll. He's trying to play with this, and my colleague, because people know that when City or when Lou is working, like she is in a zone, like do not interrupt her. So he probably felt like, oh, let me help her out because the students then ran up to her, they ain't raised their hand. They know that she's not the teacher on duty right now. Let me support her. So he jumped in and he said, what's going on? So the boy told him that the other boy was trying to play with a doll. And so he said to the boy, why you want to play with a doll, man? Why don't you want to play with this truck? And without looking up from them folders, I said, how else is he supposed to learn how to be a good dad? Ain't that why y'all make girls play with dolls? And when I say, my colleague was like, what? And I said, yeah. I mean, like, I get it. Like, pink is for girls and blue is for boys, but that's really hashtag capitalism. That came about when they needed a way to market the toys because the people weren't buying toys. Like, they had to, like, really push society into capitalism and consumerist thinking because the people really wasn't with that in the beginning. So they had to, like, do little things to, like, market it. So that's kind of like where the pink is for girls and blue is for boys come from. Look it up. So I just said to him, like, yeah, like the whole, like, play isn't just about having fun at this stage. Play is about learning. So when we structure these play experiences for children, but then make them conform to gender roles even from that stage, oh, girls only play with this in these colors, oh, boys only play with this in these colors, then you're already setting them up to believe in these limited ideas of a gender role. So you want to train girls to be good moms, but then you tell boys that it's not okay to play with dolls, and then you wonder why we have this baby daddy, baby mother culture. Y'all, when I tell you that my colleague was like on the floor, not laughing, but like he said, oh my God, I never thought about that before. It even made him think about like his own relationship with his child and how standoffish he was when she was a baby because he didn't feel like there was a connection. He didn't feel like he knew what to do. Well, I wonder why, but I bet you know what to do with the car. You see what I'm saying? So let me see. Yes. How else do they know the dynamic of a family? Absolutely. How else do they know? But we as adults get so caught up in our own fears and projections and conditioning. Let me see, too many men condition that their only role in being a father is to be a provider or money maker and leave women with the rest of the work. Exactly. So, Trick, Shay, and everyone else listening, what I'm theorizing is that that conditioning starts when you tell the girls to go play with the dolls and the boys to go play with the not dolls. Go play with something that mimics you doing some kind of work. It's not something that children learn or that we learn when we turn 15 and then we decide that that's the right way to be, but it is a form of conditioning that starts even in these play situations. They wonder why their kids grow up not effing with them or have a strained relationship. Exactly. Exactly. So, I don't even know why we got on that conversation. I don't even know where that came from. I'm glad that yes, I do. I'm glad that it came back around, and I'm so glad that y'all feel me. Even if y'all didn't feel me, I would still be glad. But I'm glad that y'all do because this is important. This meant this shifting the normal thinking to this is what men are supposed to do. So do it like this, little boy. This is the work that we need to do to support society at large. Us having these conversations. So it's like, yeah. And so, I always go into a challenge. Excuse me, a challenge would be, if you know men who have that kind of mentality, do you feel empowered? Or even women, like people. If you know people who have these mentalities, do we feel empowered to speak up? Or do we just let people live their life because that's their life, it's not mine? Um, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And then what does else does Singer say? Singer points out that um, phrases like he's living on borrowed time. He didn't say this. He didn't say this, but I'm lifting this up because I thought it was very interesting. Um, what else? What was the other one? He living on borrowed time, and I forget the other phrase that he used, and I'm probably not going to find it before I want to get to this point. But he got a new lease on life. There it is. Those, and then the author Singer. He said who is he? Like who y'all talking about? And he said from whom did he borrow time? From death, of course. That's what Singer writes in the book. So when I read that part, I'm like, okay, so you personifying death. That's interesting. Like, and I get it. That's a literary trope. So I get it. It helps us to kind of it helps humans to understand things better when we can personify something. I think that could be why humans in a way had to personify God in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like give God an image. Humans made God in their image. Anyway, um, so it made me think about um, Greek mythology, and it made me think about astrology. It made me think about how the way the things that we engage in normal life in terms of like what we have been taught is just like this is what life is and this is what the normal things are. I think that embedded in some of that stuff are spiritual truths and esoteric truths that we wouldn't know about unless we did further research. So this whole borrowing time from death made me think about um, Saturn and Kronos in mythology and astrology. Is there anybody who clocks into work using a program or software called Kronos? Um, Asking because Let me show y'all this real quick. In mythology, when I you can't even when you look it up, it's not it don't even I think they changed the name. So in mythology and in astrology, Kronos and Saturn are and talking about Greek and Roman mythology. So Kronos and Saturn are kind of like one and the same. And let's get into a little bit of this mythology. When I Googled Kronos, I was looking for Kronos, the clock in John. But um I'm not going to like click into here, but y'all can see the search what comes up, right? This learn I wonder why is there no information available for this page? Mm-hmm. Okay. So when I worked for the school district, at some point, here we go. That's what I'm going to look at. View my time card. So Kronos um, was a company, like a corporate entity that deals with timekeeping. So this whole got a new lease on life and being on borrowed time kind of thing. When I read that, I was like, oh yeah, because like Kronos is the keeper of time, according to mythology. Day's going okay, but been raining since noon. Damn. Vibing here and playing the Switch for a bit. I remember Chronos. When the school districts switched our clock in software to Chronos, the first thing I said was, "Oh my goodness, they are really like this whole thing about uh, controlling us by time is a thing. Like that's a thing. Okay, so keep that in mind. That in the present day, Chronos is actually a software that's used for what do you call it? That's used for keeping time. Okay, so let me see. Is this the one I want to start with? I want to show you some more of this. I think it's this one. Let's start here. Okay, let's start here. And if anyone's interested in these articles, I will drop them in the chat for you. Okay, let's know when the screen changed. I have to watch the Marvel movies. Star, we talk about this? Yes, because I haven't seen all of them. But can you put a list for me in the chat which ones I need to watch? So let's read a little bit of which ones do I need to watch, Starseed. Tell me which ones I need to watch, and I will get the movie night popping. I will watch one tonight. If there's one that's related to this, I will watch it tonight. Okay, so Chronos. Look at the variations of spelling. We got it with a K, we got it with a C, and then look, Chronos, comma, Saturn. Let's read a little bit about what's going on here. All right, thank you, sis. So Chronos was the god of time in its sense of eternal duration. Why is this important? Because we're talking about contemplating death, and then Singer kept talking about he's on borrowed time, and then told me that he was borrowing time from death. So I had to figure out what is the personification of death here? What is this? What is the archetype? Okay. Um, yeah, thank you, Starcy. I need the correct order. It's not that I know all of them are important, but what's the order? That's what's holding me back. He married Rhea, daughter of Uranus, and Gaia, a very important divinity to whom a special chapter will be devoted hereafter. Their children were Pluto, Neptune. So you like and look at how then you make recognize these as the celestial bodies. Jupiter, that's Zeus, right? And three daughters. All right, Kronos, having an uneasy conscience, was afraid that his children might one day rise up against his authority and thus verify the prediction of his father Uranus. In order, therefore, to render the prophecy impossible of fulfillment, Kronos swallowed each child as soon as it was born, greatly to the sorrow and indignation of his wife. Now, um, oh, there's an image. Oh goodness, do I have this image saved somewhere? There's an image of where you see Father Time, Like the clues are right here. There's an image though that shows Father Time like literally like eating a child, right? And that, so that's that image, and it's kind of like that's that idea of you start dying as soon as you're born, because as soon as you get here the time is like running out. Y'all following me? um and then is this the one? This is basically the same. This is the same information. I just want to show you a different article. I want to show you this part right here. Greek name, transliteration in Latin, Roman name, translation. Should we bold it? I mean, should we zoom it in? Okay. What you say, King? Have you ever heard a song from Andre 3000 named Chronometrophobia? No. I'll listen to it tonight. I love when y'all feed me these suggestions because y'all don't know. That's what I was talking about this earlier to Spaz. Like y'all being here helps me on my mission. Spaz earlier said that everyone has a mission in life, and I said yes. And those people that we connect with on Earth are instrumental in the co-creation of us building what we need to build in order to act in that mission. So when I come in here and give what I'm giving, and y'all say, "Hey, City, you ever heard about this? You heard about that?" You need to know that you are directly informing me, supporting me on my mission to go and learn more. So yes, thank you so much. Um, does this interest y'all at all? Because this completely interests me. That what are these connections for? Is it, you know, it is it real? Like, is there some truth to this in a way? Is there some type of hidden truth to this that maybe we that was hidden from us in some way? Because I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of like, I don't believe in coincidence, so like there's a lot of synchronicity here. That's all. A lot of synchronicity. And I think that that's really interesting. Oh, something else down here. I don't want to go too fast. Can I get this off these ads? Um, right here, God of time. The symbol is the sickle in a Roman name, Saturn. So, um, I just wanted to show those data points because I'm asking questions. I'm curious about these connections, aren't you? Um, I came into the middle of the info vibe, but this is so fascinating about astrology and its history. Agreed. I love finding things like this. I feel like I'm relearning new things every day. Agreed. When I was coming up, it was not welcome to study anything esoteric that wasn't related to the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, like God, Jesus, Holy Ghost, like the Christian way of being, the Judeo-Christian way of being, and way of thinking and believing. And so it's like I can totally focus all my time and energy and study and attention on that, but in doing that, I am keeping myself from all of this other knowledge where, like AOK said, there's history in this. You know what I'm saying? There's history in this. We may have been told that it is all about. I know I was not on camera. My bad, y'all. I just get so caught up in the information that I don't even be caring about the camera all the time. But if I'm ever not on camera for too long, y'all let me know because I didn't know just now. I'm just caught up in the reading. Um, there is history in this. that was told to us as, oh no, that's just a story, that's just mythology. But I think that there is some deep, I don't think, I know that there's history in this. There's, am I releasing the word history? Because it's not like just his story, but it's like our story. So like there's legitimate knowledge that we can take from this. And we all have a piece of the puzzle. Like I don't have all the entire puzzle just myself. So if we all come together with our all different pieces, we will be able to create the entire cosmic puzzle that is perfect truth. So, yes, A-OK the King, camera hype, because I promise I did not know that I was off the camera for that long. It was like, that joint was like, that joint was like 10 minutes. The whole time I was talking about Chronos, I was not on cam. Crazy. It's all good though. Do I have any more Chronos um, articles to show you? No, I don't. But you can look those up if you like. In here, I'll drop them in the chat for y'all as well. Thank you, Juice, again for sending the shout outs. That's the second one that we looked at. Excuse me. And here's the first one. Excuse me. If you find another resource that has this information in it, share it with me. I love to learn from multiple resources. I love to learn from multiple resources. Wasn't the timekeeper named Chronos in the Loki series? Mm-hmm. That sounds familiar. Juice. I forget what happened in Loki. Here's our discussion questions for tonight, family. What's coming up for you? I didn't fix the typo yet. So y'all just gotta forgive that. If you could be doing anything else right now, what would it be? What's stopping you from doing it now? And contemplate some things that you can shift that will allow you to live more authentically and with more awareness in each moment, in each moment.